Lygodium microphyllum is one of the most aggressive invasive plants that we have in Florida. It's easily identifiable by its bright green color and its climbing and twining behavior into the tree canopies. On each fertile leaflet, you can see these round spherical spores that are contained in the sori. At each one of the sites, they'll turn into sporophytes and gametophytes that grow out of every nook and cranny. You can also see these rhizomes that grow in the top layer of the soil. The green tips are the apical meristems where new shoots will shoot off into rachis mats. This is a deep rachis mat. They can be 3 to 6 feet deep, and this is on a private ranch in Okeechobee, Florida. It can climb over all of the native vegetation, including tree canopies, which you'll see here. These are invasive melaleuca, but it can climb over all of the native vegetation as well and turn into a monoculture. They can eventually turn into these 10 to 15 acre infestations that you see here on another private ranch in Okeechobee, Florida. On a managed ranch, on the left, you can see that the native vegetation is still intact. But on the right, you'll see that the infestation of Old World climbing fern is a lot thicker where there hasn't been management. Now, some techniques that we use are biocontrol. This is the brown Lygodium moth, and these are responsible for localized brownout at some sites that you see here in this infestation. We also use glyphosate as the commercial standard at 3% volume per volume, and recently we've discovered that triclopyr and fluoroperoxyfen benzyl also show good activity on Old World climbing fern. In order to do this, we have to cut the Lygodium at chest height so that we don't get any non-target damage on any of the trees, and after we cut it, we can see that everything above that cut will die, and everything below that cut that's still connected to the ground will spray and will eventually die as well. If we don't do this, the green Lygodium that you can see in this photo will stay alive and eventually recolonize back down towards the base. Unfortunately, fire is not an option to manage Old World climbing fern, neither is mechanical pulling, because it acts as a fire ladder into the canopy of the trees. Now, one of the areas with the worst infestations of Old World climbing fern is the Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge in Palm Beach County. And every morning, as you can see here, this is a crew, along with other crews, go out there and they try to manage the Old World climbing fern and melaleuca infestations within the site. Here you can see on these tree islands the Lygodium climbing into the canopy, and if we don't do anything, if we don't treat it, it'll eventually turn into what we see here, which is a tree island that has been overrun with Old World climbing fern, and it has taken out the native vegetation. Right here you can see 2 laborers in the Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge, and they're poodle cutting so they can eventually treat. And the big problem is that almost each and every one of these tree islands that you can see here has some sort of infestation of Old World climbing fern, and the entire refuge is 144,000 acres. So Old World climbing fern continues to be a major problem for South Florida.